we are in the kitchen. We're not outside today because the weather kind of sucks and I didn't really want to go out there. And I'm not gonna go on a walk. It's cold and rainy and shitty. It's the end of November. It's almost the beginning of December. I'm not going outside. There's also really nothing worth going outside for. Everything's dead. Everything is dead. I'm making candy instead. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Bang. Alright, so no, we're making candy today. That's the plan. Candy's something that that's the only thing I know how to make. I can make stovetop foods, I can put stuff in the oven, I can bake frozen fish sticks and that sort of stuff. Everything else, awful. I'm not a cook, I'm not a chef, I ain't any of that. But I can make some candy, so that's what we're gonna do. The only reason that I'm good at making candy is because I love candy. It's one of my favorite things. I'm a huge sweet tooth, so I wanted to teach myself how to make candy, taught myself how to make candy earlier this year. So much easier than everyone kind of makes it seem online. So this is gonna be my tutorial on how to expedite the candy making process so that it's foolproof. And the biggest part of making it foolproof is being prepared. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you my setup. Let's go. So part of making candy is making sure that you have everything ready to go. Otherwise, you will mess up significantly. So this is the pan where I will be cooking my candy. These are my silicone molds where I will be pouring the candy. As you might be able to see, I have poured citric acid into some of the cavities in a very not even way because it's difficult to do that and I didn't really feel like shoring it up. So there's citric acid in these things because I like sour candy. We have turbinado sugar because that's what I like to use. We have our measuring cups, which we will be using, and the primo ingredient, that little can or thingy right there. Yeah, baby, the oil, that's the lemon oil, because I like myself some lemon candies. And of course, I bought this gigantic gallon-sized thing of corn syrup because I didn't really pay attention. I was kind of inebriated when I purchased this. So I have a giant thing of corn syrup. You can use pretty much whatever corn syrup you have. I have this giant gallon-sized 1 gallon vanilla flavored corn syrup. You don't have to use vanilla. Probably not even is a good idea to use vanilla, but I did it anyway. So this is my setup, and you want to make sure that you have all of this ready to go. And lest I almost forgot, this will come in handy later. I'll show you what this is, but this is just a little pan. Can't see what I'm doing. It's a little pan with some water. I'll show you what we're gonna do with that later. So this is the setup. Make sure you have everything ready to go. Most specifically, make sure that this is unscrewed. It can cause problems. Oh, additionally, this is just a little cup with some sour stuff in it to make it extra sour. So that is the setup. Make sure you have everything ready to go. And I'll show you what we need to be doing from there. All right, you wanna make the way that I make candy. You take 2 cups of your sugar. Next, you're gonna want 3/4 cups of water. Pour that right in there. And the last thing that you want for your mixture, 2/3 cup, approximately, of your corn syrup. And that's it for the main ingredients. Pretty much made candy right there. I'm gonna toss that in the sink. All right. We're like almost halfway done at this point, honestly. This is why it's easy to make candy. You don't really do anything. This is a really weird angle for me, I know, but I didn't bring down the right lens and I'm too lazy to figure out what else I'm supposed to do. So we're getting real weird with this angle. My beard is fantastic. Look at this. I've been growing this all month plus last month. I look like a friggin', I don't know, my beard's never been this thick. I kinda like it. Unrelated. Hopefully none of my beard hair falls in my candy. Maybe I should have worn a thing. But you know what? That's the part about making homemade candy. There's a little bit of love in there. And by a little bit of love, maybe a little bit of beard hair gets in your candy. Doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore. It's 2020. We got our stuff ready. It's good to go. So what you're gonna wanna do, you need to put it on medium heat until the sugar boils and everything is dissolved. Then you wait. Then you just fucking wait. So we're gonna go ahead and get that started for you. Let's go. Also, important point to mention, I don't know if I mentioned it. That little thing sticking out of the top there, that's a candy thermometer, or really it's just a thermometer, but it's special for candy making because there is a mark on there that denotes where the candy is going to be at the hard crack stage, which is at 300 degrees. So we'll get to that later, but when the candy gets to 300 degrees, you take it off immediately, but we'll see what happens if I can get that going, but we'll just go ahead and get this going. Burnout. Fun part to note about turbinado sugar versus normal canned sugar. This is actually vegan candy. I didn't really realize that there were non-vegan sugars, but it turns out there are sugars that are not vegan. Normal refined sugar is actually not vegan. So I make vegan sugar. I'm not personally vegan, but I make vegan sugar. I don't make any sugar. I make vegan candy because I don't know, I think it's nicer to make something that everyone can eat. And also, you're not gonna notice the difference if you're not a vegan. You're not gonna be like, I need my animal fats in my, oh, actually there's no animal fat. There's bones involved with refining sugar. So I just use turbinado sugar. It also, I like the way that turbinado sugar actually affects the way that the candy cracks. There's a different thing that it does. I've worked with normal sugar. Normal sugar melts differently when the candy's done, but turbinado sugar, it like crunches a little bit differently, and I'm an idiot and I like to crunch my hard candy, so I use turbinado sugar and it works for me. So if it works for you, whatever, and if it doesn't, use whatever. The only other reason that I mention it is because if you want to color your candy, don't use turbinado sugar because it's all going to come out like a blackish brown color. It doesn't look super appealing. I'm going to go ahead and put it that way. It doesn't look like something you'd be like, oh, I bet that tastes like any other thing than like a caramel or something. Like if you're gonna use turbinado sugar, make sure you're labeling what the candy's gonna look like, because otherwise it's a surprise. Unless you want it to be a surprise, in which case, surprise candy. Nothing wrong with that. All candy is good. That's not true. There are some terrible candies. I don't like Zero bars. They're nasty. I also recently realized Snickers peanut butter squares, awful. Don't buy them. Also, speaking of buying, I'm gonna get into a little bit of the financial aspects of making your own candy a little bit later, so look forward to that later in the video. So, at this point, the sugar's pretty much dissolved, and you just wait. So, I'm gonna go ahead and maybe set up a camera on the camera, or I'm gonna set up a camera on the camera. I'm gonna set up a camera on my candy. 2 C words, Matt. You need to be paying attention to what you're saying. Everything's too hard. Everything is too difficult these days. It's all too hard. Everything is fucked up. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just making candy in the meantime to try to, get my shit back together. Let's work together, team. So I'm gonna let that sit pretty much until it's ready to go. You don't want to fuck with it too much after the sugar is dissolved. So we're basically done. We're basically done. It's that simple. Candy's pretty easy. So at about, let's see where we're at. We're about 200. The mixture's gonna start to boil. Don't freak out, because it's gonna do, this next thing that's coming up freaked me out at first. Don't worry about it. This is totally normal. Happens every time. Just gotta let it do what it does. It's gonna start to bubble up like that. You just let it do that, and eventually it will tamper itself back down. And at that point, I'll show you the purpose of that little thing over here. This little thing, look at this. I am still around. This thing's gonna help us out. So that's gonna do that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at it, look at it, look at it, look at it go. So it's gonna keep doing that. It's gonna let it kind of settle itself back down, and then we're gonna be fine. Alright, you may or may not be able to tell. Candy's calmed down a little bit, it's not as high. So now I'm going to show you the point of a little dingly thing over here. So we got the little dish of water. What you're going to want to do is you want to get rid of any sugar crystals that are coming up the side, because that is going to affect the structure of your candy. This little thing that I use is probably not the most ideal. I would recommend just like a regular brush, but I use this one because it's what I have. It's what I bought. So use what you have, but don't use this one. Don't buy this one if you don't already have a little thing. You just want to kind of hit these sides, bring it back down. And I just basically get rid of the stuff on the sides. Just like that. And you're not going to get all of it. There's definitely going to be candy on the sides here, but do as best as you can. My voice just cracked like a teenage boy. I haven't had any liquids today. I literally woke up, started making this video. I did this for you. I made this for you. I'm going to Julian Smith for my OG YouTube people out there. I think it's Julian Smith. Maybe I just fucked up my own reference, but it's fine. So, fun note about the candy thermometer. Make sure that you do not have it actually touching the bottom of the pan, because that's going to read the temperature of the bottom of the pan. You want to have the thermometer part actually only touching the mixture so that it is getting the temperature of the candy and not the temperature of the pan. Fun fact, I should have mentioned that earlier in the video. If you fucked up your candy because of me, I'm sorry. Basically, we're just gonna wait until that reaches 300. Now, it's going to take a little bit to go from the early 200s, the lower 200s, that's the word I'm looking for. I don't know words. I don't know them anymore. I don't talk to people anymore. I sit in front of a computer all day, guys. I don't speak words. My job that used to involve a lot of speaking is now gone. I talk to a camera. I talk to myself alone in my kitchen now. This is my life. I make candy for myself. This isn't for anyone else. My roommates are allowed to have some, obviously. You know, I'm going to share, but I'm not making this for somebody. I'm not making this to give away. I'm making this because I like candy. This is what I'm doing with my life. What are you doing with your life? What are you doing? I'm waiting for my candy to hit 300. That's what I was saying before. Going from the lower 200s to the upper 200s takes a little bit, but it's going to go from about 280 to 300 pretty damn quick, so make sure that you are paying attention. I know that I'm not paying attention right now. That's because I've made candy for a little bit, and I know roughly how long it takes for it to go from one to another, but just letting you know, the gap from 280 to 300 goes very fast, and you want to take it off immediately at 300, so be prepared. One of the useful things about candy taking so long to boil is, if you have, as I showed you before, my setup was kind of cluttered, there's a lot of mess. As long as you're paying attention to the temperature, and that is your main focus, you can kind of clean up around the kitchen a little bit. Make sure that when you're done, you don't really have that many dishes to wash. My measuring cup, which had syrup in it, which would normally have been pretty sticky, I was able to rinse some hot water over it, get it clean. It's good to go. Now I'm halfway done. I pretty much just have my pot left to clean, and then my molds when they're done, you know, chilling out the candy. So, a little bit of a side tip. Clean up while you can, but also, again, make sure that you're paying attention. That will go quick. That is your main priority. Don't fuck this up. Don't do it. Don't fuck up. Now, as we saw before, it was a lot more bubbly. This is what it's going to start to look like when you hit about, we're at about 250. So I might have to start paying a little bit more close attention, but when you get higher up, this is when the candy is going to start taking more of a full-on syrup form. It's going to stop really being super bubbly, and it's going to kind of churn and look like lava. Be very careful, don't get this on your skin, and if you do, run it under cold water. Do not put it in your mouth. That is going to be the first instinct. I know, whenever you burn yourself, you want to put your fingers in your mouth. Do not do this. Resist all temptation. I had an incident where I got some candy on the back of my one of my fingernails. Luckily, it was just the back of my fingernail. It did not come in contact with skin. Again, this is coming off at 300 degrees. So do not touch this. Do not touch it. And if you unfortunately get some on your skin, remember to run it under cold water. Do not put it in your mouth. You will burn the shit out of your mouth. All of it will be bad. Cold water, cold water, cold water. All right, we are reaching point of no return. So I just want to give a quick thing before I have to spring into action. Make sure you are prepared. When you add your oils, it is add, stir, pour, go. Like it is, you have very little time before it's going to start hardening in the pot. So instantly, and I mean instantly, you need to get whatever, and I'm going to use some flavor additional stuff. So I'm going to pour, stir, pot, pour. Done. So pay attention. It's going to go quick. And that is that. Candy is off of the stove. Candy is now plated up. So that's as simple as that. You probably may have seen, maybe heard, I don't know if I want to include the audio or not, of the crazy sizzle on candy situation, but it's now poured. I've got my citric acid on it. Now I have, I'll pull that over here, a pan. And I've got powdered sugar in that pan. Why? Because as soon as those are done cooling, I'm going to take those out. I'm going to plop them into my pan with the powdered sugar, coat them in powdered sugar so that they don't stick together. Because otherwise they will. They're candy, they're sugar, they're sticky. Cover them in powdered sugar, there's a little bit more give to them. They don't want to stick to each other as much. So we'll get back to you in a little bit to go over the rest of the video. Alright, so that's it. You made candy today. Turned out fine, I guess. I mean, it's hard candy. Tastes great. I like it. Hard candy is fantastic. Gummies are fine. Chocolate bars are fine. I like candy. I will eat pretty much anything, as I mentioned earlier in the video. It's hard for me to find a candy that I do not like. Pretty much Zero bars and Snickers peanut butter are about the only things that I found that I really don't fuck with. I don't even like dark chocolate. I don't like a dark chocolate bar. I like candy. I like sugar. I do. I really like sweet stuff. So that's how I taught myself how to make. That's not how. It's why. I need to, learn those things. Prepositions. What are they called? I don't fucking know, man. I made hard candy. Check this shit out. Bang. Tiny little square of deliciousness. Focus in on that. Increíble. It's delicious. It's sour. It's great. Fantastic. Probably not worth the money to invest in making hard candy if you don't already have all the materials. So, dollars to pounds, and all that. I got candy in my mouth. Sorry. The amount of money and the amount of effort you're gonna put into versus the output of candy that you're gonna get. Just buy some candy. Honestly, just buy some candy. This is great. It's a good gift. It's fun to make-ish. This is sour. But realistically, if you don't want to make your own candy, financially, great decision. If you do want to make your own candy, you're not saving money. You're spending a lot more. My candy making setup, I'm still losing money on it when it comes to how much I've just been buying candy too. So, do with that what you will. Like and subscribe. Do it if it helps you fucking make candy. Do it, man. This one's really thrown together. I got candy in my mouth, so I'm trying to wrap it up. Thanks.